Hey my friends, we're looking today at the Fallkniven A1x. These are the new Fallknivens with the complete full tang. I'm just going to talk to you about my initial impressions, a bit of knife lab testing I've just done with it, and just some overall stuff you might need to know if you're looking at adopting these early. I've been excited for these ever since I saw them, just for no other reason apart from that I like Fallkniven knives. Of course, that makes me a very poor man because Fallknivens are exorbitantly expensive. Arguably, you know, could be a little bit cheaper. Don't know. I don't make knives, so I'm not sure how much all these things really cost. But these are Japanese made for a Swedish company, so I guess 2 layers of employment maybe adds a bit of pricing to things as well. So who knows? The differences here are largely, if you're comparing it to an A1 Pro, just in the handle, and if you're comparing it to a standard A1, it's in the blade thickness as well. So looking at the handle first, most obviously it's now a complete full tang. So you've got the blade width is mirrored by the handle width in terms of its steel. The handle scales are slab scales, so 2 separate pieces of thermo-run. Usually the A series, the F series, or the S series from Fallkniven have had enclosed thermo-run handles, so they've had to stick the tang just slightly. I've never seen any issues with Fallknivens breaking or snapping, even under pretty ridiculous scenarios. I mean, Survival Lily beat hers with rocks and it still didn't snap. So yeah, whether that was a necessary addition or not, I would say it's more to just appeal to perhaps the Western market where we do like these Essie style, K-Bar Becker style, super rugged knives. So it's probably just a bit of a marketing thing, I would guess, but it does come with a bit of extra durability for those 1% of non-theoretical users who are actually going to use that level of durability. So there we are. In the hand, it feels fine. It feels quite comfortable. Not as comfortable, I would say, in my initial impressions as the enclosed handled knives. It's just the thermo-run's been made a little bit rougher, so it does grip into your palm a bit better. But then it's just a little bit more angular. It's a little bit colder on the spine, and yeah, there's just a couple of little things that make it slightly less comfortable. Not a huge amount less comfortable, but if I had to pick in terms of just comfort, I'd probably go with the other ones. And I'm not a user that's going to need this level of super durability either. So taking off these scales, you'll see that it is truly a full tang. There isn't any skeletonization, isn't any little compartments for survival kits. It's just 3 holes drilled in a really thick piece of laminated COS steel. So laminated COS is a good steel. I've used it in a Fallkniven pocket knife before, the PX series I think it was. So what I did when I first got this knife was I put it into the knife lab. So let's see how that went. Fallkniven A1x factory edge test. Yes, cut rope till it no longer does that. Stack it 140 times on its factory edge. Really interesting to use a blade this thick, so the edge angles here are way fatter than I usually use, so I would call that a fairly decent result, given that VG10 will do that, maybe if I really thin it out. So it's definitely an improvement on VG10. Still like a mid to lower tier kind of super type steel though, I would say. But yeah, really, really good. I can see it's the sort of thing that, in fact, let's check it out. Let's see how easily it restores just on, I don't know, the back of a DC3, because that's the thing that Fallkniven seems to send out with every single knife they sell. So let's see how I can restore it to paper slicing sharp just using the tools provided. Then the back of the DC is actually a soft leather strop, so let's see how this goes. Just on my hand is fine. Best thing about convex is that you can work a bit rougher in most aspects of sharpening, because the natural sort of edge for things to go via freehand is convex, because our arms are imperfect and they often vary slightly. So this is just to sort of replicate how some infield sharpening might go. Awesome. Back in business. So that was far from ideal size-wise, but you can resurrect a fine slicing edge pretty easily as long as you don't get it too far gone with the DC3. The only thing that's really going to stop you from using this as your full-time sharpener is it feels almost like sharpening an axe with a small stone when you get a knife this big and thick. But there you go. The A1 in the knife lab getting a pretty decent result for its very, very thick sort of factory edge there. So as you can see, it's a good factory edge. Like, that's totally cool, totally fine for such a thick angle. It's good, and to be able to restore it pretty easily with a very simple sharpening tool is nice. So I'm happy with that. So yeah, the thickness of the blade is something that is improved or increased, well, perhaps not improved at all, increased over the normal A1. That means it is even less of a good fine slicer. Observe the apple challenge. As you can see, it more explodes things than slices them, so it's just that kind of tool. It's a big, silly, fun, ultra rugged, hacking and chopping, wrecking style tool, in my opinion. The edge is nice and fine, like right at the fine edge. It actually sliced through the rope really, really easily. It was interesting. I had a supposedly thinner hollow ground knife the other day, just with a slightly thicker actual edge apex, and it was really difficult to slice through the rope. And this big, chunky Fallkniven survival knife, with its factory edge, did really fine. So they've obviously got a good convex going on it. The convex you see starts from, this is a flat part here, that's just stock thickness, and then the convex starts from halfway down. So a very, very sort of thick primary bevel. But then yeah, the edge apex, they've got it really going on, nice and thin. So really good performer out of the box for what this is. Other differences are the handle has the lanyard hole right on the end where the cracking pommel is. There's going to be an increase in weight owing to the completely full tang. It's the heaviest of the A1 series by far. But the coolest thing, well, one of the coolest new things about the A1 series and the X series in general is the sheaths. So the A1X comes with the new Fallkniven sheath, which has a locking lever on the side. So there is no longer having to have that loose little plastic flap and ball just holding that sort of knife loosely. The old Fallkniven handles weren't particularly good at holding the knife upside down or even really holding it in that securely. They had a strap going across, which you have to sort of do up as a secondary thing. So this way the knife just drops into the sheath, lock goes down, click, and there's no real effort involved in that, and then the knife will not fall out. It still has rattle. People don't like the rattle on these. I don't mind it, and I think their official reason is that it's for if the knife gets cold, then it stops it from, freezing solid in there. It gives you a bit of leeway to break it free. So there's that too. So the sheath, in my mind, is an absolute win. I really, really like the new retention system. I am happy. I've always been happy with the nylon loop. They are doing a clip though that's coming out soon apparently that you can attach somewhere here. I'm yet to see it in action or in practice. And overall, they've kind of added a bit of meat to the sheath as well. This is even better than the A1 Pro sheaths, so the Pro sheaths. They still have the strap going across here. This is, I like it a little better. It's good. One other thing, another consideration if you are an extreme cold weather user, the full tang makes it so when the knife is really cold, the heat takes a while longer to pass from your hand into the knife and make it comfortable again. So I just put it in the freezer. I'm in Australia, so the coldest place in Australia is in a house freezer. I know some of the Nordic countries you can get to like -30, all that sort of stuff. I could probably get it to about -15 in my freezer, so I left, not this knife actually, but the S1X in my freezer overnight with an F1, and I did find that upon holding them both, the F1 with the enclosed handle readjusted to the warmth of my hand a lot quicker and was uncomfortable for less time. The S1 had a real sort of frosty sheen all over it, and I could sort of theorize that if your hand was a bit damp or sweaty, you could get that frost stick going on. So that's just a real like outer left field consideration, but it's something that a few people have asked me about already in the comments. So there's that too. So just another little thing to think about with this choice here. So where does this fit into the Fallkniven line? This is in the middle of the price between the A1s and the A1 Pros. So in Australia, and remember our prices are usually about at least a third more, just because our dollar's worth about a third more, but buys about a third less. It's about equal, but just the numbers are higher. Economics. The economics lab. There is a reasonable levy on these. I think that Fallkniven has. I think the F1 never went up in price, but everything else seemed to just a little bit. The A1 is about $325. The A1X is about $420, and the A1 Pro is about $530 to $600, depending on what sheath you want. So these are pricey knives, and this is a lot to spend. I mean, a Bark River costs about this much here, of about this size, and I mean, Bark Rivers have a bit more human interaction with them. I don't think they're as production made, but I mean, Fallkniven versus Bark River, that's one of those age-old things, isn't it? Just comes down to really whether you like thermo-run and Japanesey kind of stainless steels versus American tool steels and micarta handles, isn't it? But anyway, that aside, it's a premium knife, and it's, you know, whether you're going to actually use those premium features, I just really get enjoyment out of it. So that's kind of where my money goes. I like to use it in videos. I like to, it's a bit like a golf, getting a set of new clubs or something, you know, you'll go out and play golf just to use those new clubs. I get a knife like this, I'll make time to go out and use it, and it's just a good reason to get out there and get outside. I know it's kind of backwards. I know we're all supposed to be hardcore woodsmen who, you know, use the same knife for 20 years and, you know, but that's not what most of us are. Let's just be honest with ourselves. This is just it's like a new thing. It's a new fun way of experiencing the outdoors. Having a big old knife like this, you can open things up and see what's under things and cut things open and all that good stuff. And yeah, this will do all that stuff really, really easily. And I guess more than any of the other F or A or S series knives, it probably is the most robust. You can wail on this with a stick without tearing up the thermo-run as easily, because the spine does hold up a little bit further than the scales. There isn't any shiny guards on it, which have been known to go a bit loose on the old Pro knives. I think they fixed it, but even still, that had always been in the back of my mind. And then yeah, they're sort of thicker and more robust than the standard numbered alphanumeric series as well. So that is where we're sitting, my friends. I'm happy with it. I have no doubts that this is just too much for some people, and I totally get it. Totally get it. It's ridiculous. And I had to sell lots of my knives recently. Well, I didn't have to, but I did, because I saw these coming out. I wanted to try them. I thought there'd be a lot of interest in them. I've always been interested in Fallkniven knives. They appeal to me on that level of they just look really nice and simple and just basic. I like things that look like extensions of kitchen knives, and looking around at my collection at the moment, I may be a bit of a Fallkniven whore, so I'll have to work on that. We'll see which ones stay around. One other thing I'm noticing is the scales, and I guess it doesn't matter because it doesn't change how it feels, but I wonder about the durability of the screw holes on the scales if you were to take them on and off too many times, because it is still just a rubbery kind of material with screws going through them, and even from the box there is a little bit of light on each side of each scale, and that didn't change when I opened and closed it, like took them on and off. It's just kind of how it came, and I think it's just a relatively malleable material having steel bolts going through it, and it's just one of those things that happens. It's nothing crazy, but that's going to be something to watch as well. So just the last little thing that jumped into the old brain there. Okay? Alright guys, that's my thoughts so far on the A1X. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta!